My manager keeps putting me on the schedule for weekday shifts despite me telling her I can only work weekends. I specifically told my manager in my interview that I can only do Friday through Sunday, but she previously put me on for a random Tuesday, and now again she's put me on the schedule for Wednesday. Is she stupid or something, or is it normal for managers to schedule someone on a day they specifically said they can't do without even checking if they're available? I didn't even see my name down for Wednesday, so if my coworker didn't message me asking me if I could do it, I would have been in the situation that happened last time they did this, where they ring me on the day to let me know that I'm late, but I can't even work that day anyway. They're actually just setting me up. I don't understand why she asked what days I can do if she's just going to put me down for whatever day she feels like. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Storytime with Uncle Jon. Today we're taking a look at r/EntitledPeople from Reddit, in case you couldn't tell already. I can't tell you how many places I worked from the time I was a teenager, before I was even technically legally allowed to work, according to the state, until current days, that, managers ask you what your availability is. You tell them what your availability is, and it's like they never even look at it because they're just going to schedule you whenever they feel like it anyway. They're just plugging names into holes on the schedule. They could really give a rat's behind what your actual availability is, whether you have school, a dying parent you're taking care of, another job. They don't care. They really don't care. My thing is, if you keep pissing people off, you're going to run out of decent candidates to choose from, and you're just going to end up with a worse and worse scenario over time anyway, so... But it's just a few dollars. I just witnessed quite possibly the most entitled interaction of my life. A 40 female was at my local convenience store talking to the owner's daughter. She needed help with homework and was asking everyone if they could help her understand it. Shakespeare isn't for everyone, but it's something I thoroughly enjoyed at school. Ooh, too deep for me. I'm in there almost daily, so they know me. In walks this woman, probably around my age, and she begins gathering items and dumping them on the counter, completely disregarding other customers who are already at the counter. This goes on for a few minutes, and then she goes to pay. At this point, the clerk is serving someone else, and this woman interrupts the transaction and states, "My items are on the counter, so you shouldn't be serving anyone else, as I'm clearly waiting to be served." I always believed that in order to be served in a store, you had to physically be in line or at the counter. Maybe I'm wrong? The man being served smiles at this woman and says something along the lines of he's buying smokes and needs 30 seconds to complete his transaction and she can just wait. This led to much huffing and puffing from the woman. She then turns to me and says, "Can you believe the audacity of some people?" I can't help but giggle before I reply with, "No, but I really do appreciate irony." She didn't get the joke. By now the guy has left and the clerk is ringing up her items and putting them into bags. He finishes and tells her the total, which was $30 and some change. She tells him he will take $25 because that's all she has. He tells her he will willingly take the $25 providing she removes sufficient items to ensure it covers her bill. Introduce tantrum stage right. "I need everything. You can't deprive me of my needs. Who do you think you are? I'm calling my husband." The clerk doesn't miss a beat and replies with, "Make sure he brings his wallet." Now the kid and I have completely forgotten about Shakespeare and are enjoying the theater production unfolding right in front of us. Out comes her phone and she's scrolling furiously whilst repeating, "Just wait until he gets here." Again, the clerk doesn't miss a beat and says, "I have no other choice but to wait. My shift doesn't end for another 3 hours." She literally stamps her feet while shouting, "But it's only $10. I'm almost at the point of having to put my fist in my mouth to stifle my laugh. This woman calls her husband and puts the phone on speaker. He answers and she puts on this really pitiful whiny voice. "Baby, I'm at the store and the clerk's holding me and 2 other females hostage. You need to come and rescue us." This guy must be all too familiar with his wife's antics and says, "You can't really be held hostage and be allowed to use your phone, so either you didn't have enough money or you're trying to buy alcohol without ID. Oh, smart guy. I didn't stifle the laughter, and now this woman has 3 people openly laughing at her. She has to sheepishly admit it was the former. Her husband then says, "If you leave the chips, candy, and soda behind that you don't need and that we have more than enough of in the house, I'm sure you'll have enough money." She started to protest and her husband uttered, "I told you about doing this shit. Say one more word and I'm canceling your birthday." She stamped her foot again as she hung up and told the clerk to remove the suggested items, and she does have enough to cover the bill. As she's about to leave, she actually asked that no one post about this on Reddit. Can you believe the audacity? I'm a fan of irony myself. I've seen people do that. I've seen people walk into a store. Now, just for a little bit of background, in the US at least, this is what I know. And it may have fluctuated depending on the company or the time period or what decade or, whether you rode in on a scooter or a dinosaur. But either way, in a convenience store, they have a fountain, fountain sodas. Sodas, juices, water, ice, all that stuff. You grab your cup, whatever size you select. You fill it with your ice, you fill it with your drink, you go and you pay. Now, I've seen people go in with no cup of their own. They go grab a, whatever would be a small, medium, or regular cup and fill it with water, go to pay for all their other stuff, and then the guy rings them up for the cup that they have, and they protest because water should be free. Well, first of all, if you got it from the store, nothing's free unless you ask and they give it to you. Second of all, they don't really charge much for the sodas, the juices, and all that stuff. The ice and the cup are the most expensive parts of that whole ordeal. The drink itself means almost nothing to them. It's the cups, lids, straws, ice. And honestly, I think ice is the most expensive, if I remember from some weird report I saw a few years ago. I think ice was the most expensive out of the whole equation, but anyway. Now, if you go in, even if you go in with your own cup and fill it with water, they probably still won't charge you, but I think they can charge you, 25, 50 cents, whatever, because, their filters, their machine, most of the time they're on municipal water, so they're paying for that water anyway. But to go in and throw a temper tantrum over something that you perceive should be free, well, okay, electricity can be free if you figure out a way to harness, the power of wind and sun and everything else. But if you plug into the grid, somebody has now produced that electricity for you. There is no right to that. Well, there's a basic human right, but again, you still have to pay for it. Or you have some other organization help you pay for it, if you're on hard times. Water, the same way. If you're on municipal water and you can't pay, they're shutting it off because they have to process that. They have to clean it, treat it, whatever, and then distribute it to your house through the pipes. Now, if you own your own well, back to the electricity thing again, unless you have an old pitcher pump where you're going to prime it and, give yourself a workout once a day or twice a day to fill buckets and barrels and jugs and whatever. I mean, come on, people. It's common sense. Nothing in this society is for free. You have to work for it in one way, shape, or form and pay for it with either your labor, your time, your money, whatever. Nothing is free. Ain't no free lunch. My 21-year-old cousin. He broke his own foot during a drunken fight with his dad. Oh, God. So hasn't been able to drive for a while. I live in the town over, so roughly 40 minutes drive to and back. We've had flood warnings for 2 weeks straight because of the hurricane, and when he does text me, it's always around 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. because his parents have trail cams and will interrogate him over really anything. Still not my problem, though. He called me 6 times the day before. I didn't answer, and instead of just asking me for what he wanted, he first asked what I'm up to. Oh, I hate that. Really, I hate that. What are you up to? Okay, what do you want? He called me again last night, but I didn't answer. He sent me a passive-aggressive text saying, "Can you come by where I'm staying, or are you busy, lol?" I should just stop what I'm doing and go serve him and drive him to McDonald's late at night during a flood warning. No, I wasn't busy. I was at home relaxing. My dad's family's like that. You're not really doing anything, so why can't you serve me? He broke his foot and wrecked his parents' Ranger. How is that my problem? And I definitely want to go serve him while he talks down to me or tries to bribe me. Only talks to me when he needs something. Hopefully, if he ever gets a girlfriend again, she won't fall for it either. My bullshit detector's not completely perfect, but it does work well most of the time. And 99% of the time, when I answer the phone, and I tend to not answer the phone most of the time, let's be honest. I let it go to voicemail 99.9% of the time. If it's really important, they're going to leave me a message. Otherwise, they're just going to either call back or shoot me a text. And I'd rather text because then I can decide at that moment. It's easier to decide. I can decide when the conversation's over either way, but it's easier on text because I just stop responding. Anyway, when they call and I answer and the first thing out of their mouth is, "What are you doing?" Yeah, just get to the point. What do you want? What are you asking for? What do you need? Or the other famous line, "Are you busy?" Yeah, I'm busy. I'm either recording, sleeping, stuff in my face, whatever. I don't mind when people ask for things in general. Generally speaking, I don't mind. Just don't try to BS me, Get to your point. Hey, listen, I was wondering if you could do me a favor. That I like that direct approach. And either I can, or I can't, or I will, or I won't, whatever, and I'll decide. And you can't berate me for my decision because I have my own reasons for whether I will or will not do something. So, either I'm broke or I don't have time, or I just don't like you and I don't feel like it. By the way, everybody that was bemoaning the fact that there were no cats in the last video, hold on. Oh, tricked again.
Cat!
Anyway, so I didn't want the whole video to go by without somebody being able to see a cat. So Nickel happens to be sleeping back there. Dime's hiding somewhere in the house. I don't know. Dime, the black cat, who's always like stretching up into the camera view from his nap. He hasn't been feeling well the last couple weeks, and we got him on some new meds. So hopefully he's working through his issues, and he'll be back to his old rambunctious self here soon. Anyway, rambled enough, I guess. $70,000 English degree? This happened in 2015 when I was a supervisor at a chain grocery store. I was watching over the self-checkout lanes, and a woman around 35 flagged me down to tell me her bread rang up wrong. I told her I just had to run back to the shelf to double check the tag price. I didn't necessarily doubt her, but I had to go check because it's technically policy. She immediately started yelling about how she has a $70,000 English degree. Don't you think I can read? I'm in a hurry. I basically ignored her and walked back to check the price, and no surprise to anyone, it turns out she cannot read as the lower price was on a different brand of bread. I get it. I've done this before where, I will misread a tag. It's actually for a price on something on the next shelf down or the next shelf up or whatever, over to the right. I don't know. And, you get in a hurry, and sometimes your brain just doesn't catch up quite enough. You think you see something and it's really only partially reality. Anyway. And then there's other times when I've been in stores when they've had things mispriced, where somebody will load up a shelf. Now, I am a Diet Pepsi freak. I just, I only have a couple vices left in life, and that's one of them. I know it's not great for me. Don't judge me. When you go to the big world of Wally, you gotta watch, because sometimes the prices will fluctuate. So sometimes 2 12-packs of the cans of Diet Pepsi will be cheaper than the cube of 24 cans of Pepsi. Other times it's the other way around. So you watch, from week to week, you can kind of gauge. And if you save $1.50, $2, whatever, sometimes it's worth it if you're already there. I wouldn't go out of my way to save $2, but whatever. And one week I went in there and the 12 packs were actually cheaper. But what they did was they loaded a bunch of 24 packs, and that sign was put on the 24 pack shelf. My little pea brain read it, but only read part of the tag, but it was still marking the things that, I wasn't going to try to hold them to the fact, that I wanted the single 12 pack price on a cube of 24 cans. I wasn't going to do that, but still, they make mistakes with how they price things sometimes too, because let's face it, sometimes they lose track and don't pay attention, or get distracted and then start mismarking things. So it does happen. Besides the fact that it takes too much time and costs too much money for people to do, that's one of the reasons they stopped putting individual price tags on products, because prices will fluctuate from week to week, and when you can just scan everything from the barcode, why bother? Does that make sense? Also, I don't understand why people think their $70,000 English degree makes a damn bit of difference. I hear people brag about their PhDs, and that's great. That's an accomplishment. I probably couldn't make my way through all the rigmarole to get a PhD, quite honestly. Whether it's lack of patience, lack of intelligence, lack of fortitude, whatever you want to call it, I will probably never ever have a PhD, doctorate, whatever. Won't even have a master's. Nothing. I will eventually probably have a couple BAs in different things, but whatever. It's not going to make a huge difference in my life one way or the other. But to brag about something, off and on, I've been building houses for the last 38 years, off and on. Now, not steady, but I know enough to be dangerous. But for me to stand there and brag, well, I used to build houses. Well, first of all, codes change from municipality to municipality, from state to state, from country to country. Building codes are different. Standards change all the time, whether it's for wind shear, hurricane force winds, electrical codes. Hell, you could go 2 miles up the road and the soil is totally different. So you have to change up the way you do your footings and your foundation and all that stuff. You just can't, it's not a one size fits all for everything. It doesn't make me the smartest person in the room when it comes to talking about construction. Same thing with this dipshit English degree person and their label reading skills. My own mother. She has 3 kids who are all in school looking for jobs, graduating, or working a full-time job. She never graduated and runs her own cleaning business. Every day when she comes home, she expects us to have dinner cooked and the house cleaned, which we aren't even there to make a mess of, so it's all her. She also makes her own schedule for work and constantly takes days off for herself while we're deep in money troubles. She currently has the 2 biggest rooms in the house to herself, while me and my younger sister are stuck in the smallest rooms. My oldest sister's moved out but comes and visits. Recently, my mom has been yelling at us, saying we are lazy slobs with no jobs, so we should be cleaning the house and cooking because she works all day. Right now, nobody's hiring due to a large amount of students needing summer jobs. We walk the dog almost every day. We each agreed to cook once a week, the only days we get non-lazy half-made food, and we constantly clean everything in the house. It's all okay until she gets home. She complains about the dog on a daily, but smothers it with love until it's time to clean the backyard, feed, bathe, walk, or let him outside to pee, even if she's in the same room as the door. She acts like she's a queen and all her kids are her servants or maids. We can't handle it anymore. She had already put us through tremendous amounts of trauma in the past and acts like it never happened because she's the ideal human, because she's had more than the recommended amount of therapy. Edit. Not everything on this whole story is listed, so there are some things that are left out due to the extent of the situation. Basically, the situation should be unlivable for most with how bad it's gotten. I can actually see this one from both sides of the coin because we have a large family living under one roof, and we're multi-generational at that. So, we're the grandparents, parents. Then we have our adult children with their kids. And then we have a couple at home that one's 19, but, unmarried, still working his way through things. And then the 13-year-old. So, I get it. It doesn't mean we all don't, have our own issues. And everybody, I don't care who you are, and even the OP, I'm sure there are things that you do that are totally wonky, totally off base. You get attitudes about. And we all have our thing that, sets us off and puts us over the edge on whatever topic it is. Some people think things aren't fair. Everybody looks at things skewed because, we're looking at it from our own perspective. Sometimes it's because we're selfish, tired, lazy, whatever. We all have that flaw, unfortunately. The trick is trying to figure out how to work through it and get past it, and everybody takes on their own little thing, and we're still trying to figure that out here. So I get it. I feel the pain from both sides, like I said. I've been the mom from this story, not literally. I mean, I know I got moves, but still. I've been that person where I've accused people of things when they may actually do that, but they do other things to cover for it. So, it's not really fair to call them out on it. I've also been called out on things that weren't exactly fair. Some things were fair, fair game. I'm kind of a lazy SOB, so I get it. The trick is you got to try to find a balance and everybody, pick up a piece of the action here and there and take care of business. Get it done. We'll get there someday. Hopefully. I don't know how to effing use it. I hadn't been with the company for so long. This was a few years ago. I was working at the lumber register. Customer comes in and asks where he can do payments. I told him at customer service. Old system Genesis. And he was looking to get some 94-pound Portland cement bags. At the time, the system had it wrong. It would say 92-pound cement, not 94 pounds. Oh. It would say 92-pound cement, not 94 pound. So in my mind, I figured these were two different items. He said they were 94 pound and was sure of it. Customer says, watch, I'll show you. I say, I can't leave my register. If you can take a photo of it so I can see it and get the number off of it. Customer says, what am I supposed to use to show you? I say, your phone? The customer flips his shit. I don't know how to effing use it. He walks away to customer service. At the time, I didn't want to charge him the wrong price, causing him to get mad because it was wrong or I overcharged him. He walks back over like 10 minutes later. He says, you'll be hearing from your manager. No manager ever talked to me about this, lol. Okay, OP. Again, this is something where I can see things from both sides. You think it's two different products because all you can see is what your system shows you on the screen. I get that. No problem. He knows it's the same product and it's just mismarked in your system. And asking him to take a picture wasn't really that big of a deal. It wasn't like the wrong thing to do. But when he says he didn't know how to use it, you could have then just said, okay, well, hold on a second. Let me see if I can get somebody to go over there and do a price check because I can't leave the register. So give me a minute. Let's see if we can find somebody to go over there with you real quick. Make sure the prices are the same, whatever, and I'll go from there. So there's a little bit of multiple things. This guy's a little too edgy, a little too close to the edge, I guess. And he could have been a little calmer. Also, you may be young. I'm not sure. I'm making assumptions, but you kind of got to learn how to handle people, and diffuse things. I'm not saying it's your job to be their therapist or anything like that, but at the same time, cut the guy a little slack. He's a customer. He's not an employee there. So, expecting him to go back and forth taking pictures and whatever. And if he's old enough, maybe he doesn't know how to use the camera on his phone. Me, if I saw a discrepancy, I would have taken a picture before I ever approached you. But, I'm that Gen X generation where I'm kind of in between. I'm sharp with the phones, pretty sharp with the computer-ish. And I believe in taking pictures of everything so that I can reference them later. Also, I'm starting to lose my eyesight slowly, or at least it's going kerflooey. So I like taking pictures of certain labels where the print is really tiny. And I take a picture so that I can blow it up and actually read what it says. Shout out in the comments if you've ever had to do that. The smartest guy in the whole wide restaurant. So a while ago, me, my girlfriend, and her friends went to a fondue place for our birthday. It was a really popular spot, so when we got there were already 15 to 20 people waiting outside the restaurant. We put our names on the list and were hanging out chatting and waiting for our table. There were 2 outdoor tables with people eating while we waited, and one group finished up and left, leaving the table empty. Enter smart guy and his girlfriend. This guy walks up to a restaurant and sees 20-ish people standing outside around an empty table with used plates and silverware still on it, and just sits down at the table with a very smug look on his face, like he's figured out a life hack that all the other people in line were too stupid to think of. Everyone outside is giving this guy the stink eye now. His girlfriend, who unlike him does have the ability to feel shame, starts trying to tell him they need to put their name on the list, that he can't just claim a table at a busy restaurant because nobody else is currently sitting there. The guy, who is fully being glared at by at least 6 other people a few feet away from him, doubles down and explains to her that that's not how it works. Dumbass. He was the first to claim the table and he doesn't want to move and give someone else the opportunity to take it. She tries in vain to argue, but smart guy just gets on his phone and continues tuning the rest of the world out. Then like 30 seconds later, our waitress comes out to clean the table, and when she sees him, she's like, "Yeah, you can't sit there. There's a huge waiting list. Do you seriously not see all these people around you?" And some people outside start laughing at him or making comments. Girlfriend is effing mortified, and as soon as the guy sheepishly gets up, she insists they leave because she's too embarrassed to eat with him in public. It's just wild to me the way some people will double down on behavior they know is wrong just because they think admitting their wrongness makes them look stupid. Or weak, I'll add that. Yeah, not only do they think it makes them look Not only do they realize it's starting to make them look stupid, it makes them look weak in their mind. Like, they think they're some sort of alpha male. Now, I don't totally ascribe to the whole alpha, beta, whatever, gender thing. You're either an asshole or you're not. You're either intelligent or you're not. You're either a kind person or you're not. I don't really, like I said, I don't ascribe totally to this alpha thing like we're a pack of dogs. There is some validity to it. If you're very assertive, borderline aggressive, those people tend to get their way more often because they're just loudmouths and they're bullies, and they will just push until somebody caves. And they know that they're going to get their way in a lot of instances. So, I don't know. People suck. But at least the girlfriend had some sense. Now, the next thing that will prove that she's actually halfway intelligent is how long she stays with him. Karen yells at me for not selling her baby beer. Really? So I'm first going to let you know all a little bit about me. I don't really drink, I don't do drugs, and I've been homeless for a while. I managed to find myself a job way up north at a marina far from my city. This literally just happened. I was sitting at the counter. My job involves renting boats and cottages, and we have a storefront that sells beer, fishing supplies, boat rentals, and food. A person came up to the counter with a 24-pack of beer and tried to buy it. The guy looked young, like under 19. I'm Canadian, so you need to be 19 to purchase alcohol. He didn't have ID, so I told him I couldn't sell him booze. He clapped back at me saying it's okay because he's 20. I told him I can't sell you anything without ID. No ID? No sale. He really talked down to me, saying he's old enough, and told me not to make him get it. He pointed to his car and said he's busy. So I said, "So you're driving without a license?" The guy got flustered and left. About 30 minutes later, this older woman walks in and I see the kid from before outside. She grabbed the 24-pack and came to the counter. She pointed outside and asked if I was the person who wouldn't sell her baby beer. I said, "Yeah. No ID, no sale." She huffed at me and said, "Whatever," and tried to make her purchase. I asked, "Does your kid have his ID on him now?" She said no, that she's buying the beer. I said, "Unfortunately, I can't sell it to you without him having ID." She screamed at me saying she's in her 40s and has her license. I explained that I couldn't sell her alcohol knowing she's giving it to a potential minor or someone without ID. She screamed, called me a moron, flipped me off, and said she was going to call corporate to complain about me. I told her, "It's a small business, but I'll give you the owner's number." She left and I called the owner to explain everything. She laughed and said I handled it perfectly. So yeah, lol. Yeah, I was just going to say, I was thinking to myself in my head this whole time, okay, mom came back, she has her ID, she's legally allowed to buy alcohol, except that not only is the kid standing out front being kind of obvious that he's with her, she even admitted that she's buying the beer for him. Well, at least here in the US, and now evidently in Canada, that is a thing. If it's obvious that you're buying the beer for someone who is potentially underage or doesn't have an ID, because you can get in trouble for selling people alcohol without their ID, even if they look like they're 90. Who cares? It doesn't matter. The rules are the rules, and we got to follow them, especially if you're a licensed server, bartender, liquor store clerk, whatever. You can get in a lot of trouble for that crap. I don't understand why people think they can always circumvent the rules, just like the jackass from the last story with the table. While there was no legal issues with that, it's our policy. Now this one with the alcohol is now a state or government policy on top of the store policy. So get stuffed. People are amazing. Some people take their CSI too seriously. All right, this is the first time I've experienced this. Let me know if you have. My family was just sitting in a restaurant. They have 2 TVs in the dining space, but they're way down low and there's piano music playing. Think Studio Ghibli throughout the place. This older couple prop up one of their cell phones and start watching a crime show. Now I know people can be self-absorbed and have loud conversations on speakerphone or music in public, but a freaking TV show, especially one with periodic shootouts, in a quiet dining room? Worse still, while they were eating, they really weren't watching the damn show. Listen, I love my phone. And sometimes I will get onto, at some point, now that it's brought up, it's in the top of my mind. Here we go. I may start CSI all the way back at the beginning and start binge watching again while I'm editing, doing other work around the house. And a lot of times I'm not even watching, I'm just listening. Here's the difference. I'm not doing it where everybody around me can hear it and is distracted by it and everything else, not even in my own house. I can't stand when my family members, we will name no names, walk around listening to their cell phones at top volume because they're partially deaf. I don't need to hear what they're hearing, especially since I don't even know what it is half the time. I have wireless earbuds. Bluetooth is an amazing product. And even if you use wired, before Bluetooth, I still have a wired set of earbuds, but when Android started going with no headphone jack, or the Galaxies did, only the USB-C, I did use an adapter for a while that went USB-C to whatever millimeter jack that is to use my wired headphones. But the problem is then you got the wire hanging around. Like this one drives me nuts sometimes. When I'm editing, I'll flop back in my chair and kick my feet up and throw this over my shoulder like a World War I ace, flying ace scarf. But anyway, Bluetooth earbuds, folks. Now, I only use one at a time for several reasons. One, so that, and I'm partially deaf too, but I can at least tell somewhat what's going on in the world around me. Plus, when you're driving, it's illegal to have both earbuds in, yada, yada, yada. But also because it saves battery. So I can, when this one starts telling me low battery, please charge, I put it in the case to charge and pull the other one out. It connects and I'm back to my video or podcast or music or whatever. And if I'm sitting in a restaurant and my wife and I, which I don't think we'd even do, but if we both wanted to watch a show together and we're out in public somewhere, it's kind of gross. But at the same time, we've been married for 27 years, so who cares about a little earwax, right? I would offer her an earbud and we could both listen at the same time without disrupting everybody around us. It's just a win-win. Bluetooth, folks. Get with it. Well, thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed these stories as much as I did. They were actually pretty funny today. I got a little chuckle out of that. And don't forget, if you like handmade soaps, beard products, keep your beard nice and shiny and manageable, and traditional shave products, things like that, check out the website down below. And who knows? Maybe you'll find something you like. Help support the cats. Just saying.